networking with each other, asking questions of us, as well as all of our partnership brand and product platforms that we have, but also just getting you guys together, talking about things that are important to you. So we've had a couple of different events. We had a How to Take Great Food Photos event where we had a food photographer. We did a review panel where some restaurateurs talked about how they respond to their Yelp reviews. We've done some chefs panels talking about how they adapt to the Bay Area market and tipping and things of that nature. And we're really excited to be partnering with Samir and Instawork tonight. Before we turn it over to the panel, I just wanted to give a big shout out and thank you to Castagna, my longtime caterer for these events. The food has been fantastic. Chef Steph never lets me down. Also, a big shout out to Cheers on Demand. They do all of my alcohol delivery, so love that. They provide all of our beverages for tonight. And then I wanted to give a big thank you, but also point out for you folks, in case you do have any questions before you leave tonight, the incredible staff that we have here with us. So we have Yelp staff, 324, No Wait, and these guys really are picked because they are the best of the best at answering any and all questions. So they can certainly talk to you about the products and the platforms and sign you up if you're interested, but their main goal tonight is to get your Yelp questions or your No Wait questions or your E24 questions answered. So don't be afraid to ask myself or them any of those questions. The underlying hope of all of these events is to create a more human element in the restaurant community with our brand here at Yelp and really hear from you guys about what you need, but also answer questions that might help you better use the platform. My name is Emily. I can't believe I said all of that without telling you that. And I'm the business outreach team here, so I work with business owners on utilizing our free tools. And I'm going to let Ben here talk real quickly about what he does on the community side of things, and then we'll let our panelists get to the nitty-gritty of the meat tonight. But Ben, I'll let you kind of take it over for a couple minutes here.
Thanks, Emily. Round of applause, Emily, for putting all this on Instawork and the rest of all of you. So, community. Let's talk about community for a quick second. I manage the San Francisco community, so more specifically the elite squad. So there are, most trusted users are influencers of sorts, and they're the people that are watching or have eaten at all of your restaurants already. So it's important for us to kind of bring the Yelp brand to life, and these people help bring that brand to life by I throw certain events where we come in and we blow it out for them in your restaurant and have an incredible experience, and they go back and they write about it and they tell all their friends about it, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, I had this amazing meal. I can give you a couple quick instances. They range from anything we just did a Yelp Res client of ours, Rue, an Indian restaurant. We did this like really nice seated tasting menu meal. Everyone came back, 5 stars across the board. On the event page, they're not incentivized to write reviews on your actual business page. I should let you know that now before anything. All the way up to events where I worked with the entire Fillmore Merchant Association. We had 36 businesses participate up and down the street, tons of vendors. We had about 3,500 RSVPs, and we really helped increase the awareness and eyeballs of all of those products and offerings up and down Fillmore Street. So, if you're interested in connecting with the Yelp community, the Yelp elites, I'll be around after this. If you want to take down my email, it's benf, as in Frank, at yelp.com. I'm happy to answer any other questions and how we kind of help get your business more visible to this community through our various digital, online, and offline offerings. And that's about it.
Cool.
Emily.
So without further ado, I'm going to kick it over to Samir at Instawork and let him introduce his panelists and take it away for this topic. We're going to give plenty of time for Q&A at the end, and then also we normally leave about 30 to 45 minutes for you to do some more networking amongst yourself, ask questions of these guys, or grab one of myself or the other staff members if you need anything before you take off. I hope you guys really enjoy the session, and if you have any feedback, positive or negative, you can always reach me, EmilyRW@Yelp.com, super easy. If you can't remember that, BizOutreach@Yelp.com is our regular team alias, and you will hear back from me directly because I manage that email. So I'll let you guys take it away. Do we need one more?
Or you could just Yelp it.
You can Yelp. You could do that. Everyone's good with mics? Fantastic. Take it away.
All right. Hi, everyone.
That's good, just flip them on.
Hi, everyone.
Good evening.
All right. Well, thanks for coming. I'll introduce myself, and then I'll let Julie and Obi actually introduce themselves as well. I'm one of the co-founders of Instawork. We are a service that helps connect restaurant professionals to small businesses. We've been around for about 2 years. We're based in San Francisco. We were founded in San Francisco. We're also live now in Seattle and Southern California. About 2,000 businesses, about 100,000 restaurant professionals use Instawork to find great opportunities and to fill open positions. We started as a website, but now we actually are a mobile-first company, so we have a mobile app for businesses to post jobs and find professionals for their businesses, but we also have an app for applicants to find great local jobs. And it's a real treat to meet a lot of you, many folks here who I've known for a long time, folks who I'm meeting for the first time today. Let me let Obi and Julie introduce themselves, and then I'll just chat a little bit about the format for the evening.
My name is Obi, and I think I can qualify as a restaurateur at this stage. Been around for quite a few years in the Bay Area for the past 12 plus. Worked with companies like Kempton and Ozumo, and was with Omar Pod at Baz Cafe Pod and Ton and Gaspar, just around the corner from us here. And am now president and COO of Fine Dining, which is Left Bank and LB Steak. So we have 5 properties, 400 employees, and we're doing a whole lot of trying to hire on a daily basis. So possibly why I'm here to talk about that a little bit tonight. We'll figure that out together.
I'm Julie. I'm the HR director with Dozer Restaurants. I've been in the hospitality business for about 20 years. So restaurants, hotels, wine industry. So I also really constantly trying to solve this hiring puzzle. We have multiple locations, 2 locations in San Francisco. We have a South San Francisco location, Cupertino location, and soon to be Oakland. So lots of different puzzles to solve in terms of hiring for the different locations and different issues that come up.
Great. And just to get to know all of you a little bit better, could you raise your hands if you live or manage a business in San Francisco, the city? How about East Bay? South Bay Peninsula? And how about Napa, Sonoma? Anyone? No? Okay. And then one other question, how many of you do hiring directly, like your chef or your GM? And how many sort of HR operational professionals?
We're not.
Every day.
The hands up over there.
Yeah, hands up all the time.
And how many of you like to drink?
I like
Yeah, we have a diverse crowd. So, look, this was meant to be a pretty informal panel, I think, just to sort of get the juices flowing and to get, to just sort of, I think, let spark in sort of our heads down discussion. I thought we could spend maybe half an hour. I have some slides prepared. Instawork, because we've been around 2 years, we've worked with a couple thousand businesses. We started to get a lot of data on what works and what doesn't work and what trends are we seeing. So I thought I could share that with all of you, specifically on the problem, right? What are we seeing in the Bay Area? What are the challenges? Then maybe have Obi and Julie talk about their experiences in the real world and if it, what they see that's similar or different from the data that we present. And then I'd like to spend the second half of the first sort of session talking about solutions. What are restaurants doing that has made them more successful at hiring? What's the data telling us about where we think everyone can get an edge in finding great talent? Then, like the first time, send it over to the real restaurateurs here to see if it validates their experience. We'll spend the remaining 20, 25 minutes just doing questions. If you guys have any questions that you think would be appropriate for any of us, you can feel free to ask. So problems first, and then solutions. So these are some of the restaurants that use Instawork. So about a year ago, the New York Times had a really controversial article that came out. A lot of people talked about it. Can you raise your hand if you guys have seen this article? Has most of the room seen it? Maybe about a third. If you haven't seen it, I really recommend just Googling it. It's kind of ironic that I work at a tech company and we're at the headquarters of a tech company, but we're actually the good guys. We think we're here to help restaurants be successful, but everyone else is a culprit. But the article talked about the problem that I think everyone here is acutely aware of, right? Cost of living has gone up, hurts restaurants in two ways. Rents go up because there's more competition for space, but the high cost of living has also pushed out staff and professionals that traditionally are responsible for helping run great hospitality businesses. And I think this article did a great job of summing it up, and I think it really illustrates the problem that everyone here is facing all the time. So sort of jumping into it, what are we seeing in Instawork? And this is basically data for the past year, and I'll tell you if the data timeline is a little different. So we're seeing pretty severe turnover for back of the house, almost 100% a year. It's a little bit better, but not much better for front of the house, and these are average numbers across the entire Bay Area. We spend a lot of time talking to the folks not in this room, the applicants, right? We ask them a lot of questions about how to make their experience and looking for a job better. But one of the things we ask them is, why are you leaving? Why do you look for a new job? And that helps us get better insight into the other half of what makes a product work. The first thing that comes up a lot is location. That New York Times article talks a lot about cost of living. High cost of living affects applicants as much as businesses. Every time someone has to move to get a cheaper apartment, or if one of their roommates flakes and doesn't have a job, and they all have to find something new, they're changing jobs. And location is the single biggest reason that comes up when we ask people why they're changing jobs. They need to work at a place that's closer to where they live for a variety of reasons. Compensation comes up, obviously. And in particular, we're hearing from a lot of applicants who are interested in going to companies like Bon Appetit or catering companies where maybe the compensation is more creative. There's certain types of bonus or equity sharing arrangements that traditionally small businesses can't compete for. And the last thing we're seeing, this is more of a Bay Area thing than other markets, is scheduling. The average line cook in San Francisco, we think works like 2.3 jobs. They have an AM job, a PM job, and they're working gigs on their day off and the weekends. It's very hard for many restaurants to make the unique schedule requirements of a lot of back of the house staff work, and we hear that, right? So people have very limited time blocks. They need to find a job that meets those time blocks, and there's not a lot of room for error, not a lot of room for freedom. Similarly, on scheduling, you have the on-demand economy, especially in San Francisco, the Bay Area, where people have a lot more freedom to earn income in a variety of ways. And so they feel like that freedom has empowered them, and they want more flexibility in scheduling their day. So that's at a really, really high level.
I just wonder, to pause on this for a second and talk about the turnover rate, which when I see it on paper, it always just completely terrifies me. It's the reality that we live in. But does anybody have an idea of that hourly employee that's working and what it costs to train or to have that turnover? Does anybody have a ballpark idea of what the cost is to that one employee? Your $15 hour line cook. What's it cost to train them?
This stays like approximately 30 days, and then they leave because you can't accommodate their specific schedule.
Yeah, and then, but the actual dollar cost to that turnover. Yeah, $3,000 is kind of the ballpark that we have for it. Between the training and the retraining and the hiring process and all of that, we put real numbers to it, and you're in. Actually, that $3,000 is on the low end of the number. So I think it's super important in the context of this conversation and hiring, and when we get to the retention part, to think about your $15 hour employee and that turnover being $3,000, and the fact that you're turning over 100% of them on an annual basis. That was supposed to be positive. heard a deep sigh. You're like, oh, $3,000.
So where is it the toughest to hire? And just really quick, not that San Francisco itself is easy, but everywhere outside of San Francisco, for those of you who actually live in the city, you have it easier. East Bay is the next easiest, but the hardest is North Bay, Napa, Sonoma. When we say it's 4 times as hard, it basically means that the restaurants in the North Bay, Napa, Sonoma, you get basically about 1/4 of the applicant volume that a restaurant in San Francisco gets. Obviously, there's less competition for a smaller pool, but the Peninsula, South Bay, North Bay, Napa are hurting the most. And in terms of the positions that we find are the hardest to hire for, not surprisingly, line cook, prep cooks, and dishwashers. But the one front of the house position that seems to be impacted the most is the hostess-host position, and that's when we look at the data. It just suggests that it's basically about compensation, right? People who really desire tips who are good enough to be servers want to be servers, and if they're not good enough to be servers at a more formal sort of professional restaurant, would rather be a counter server, somewhere where they can get tips, like a tip jar, versus being a host or a hostess where their ability to secure a meaningful tip volume is limited.
Well, one thing to that, I know that we had a lot of trouble with our hostess positions, and we were able to reduce that turnover by adding them to the tip pool. So,
By what?
Adding them to the tip pool. So it was very helpful for us in terms of
That's not
retaining.
legal though.
Hmm?
It might not be legal unless, you can't add hostess to the people if it's not,
Yeah, the employees vote on it. The parties that are tipped, the servers, they vote on it.
if they're sharing tips between employees, you can't have the managers, share it to the pool.
Yeah, our hostesses aren't managers.
Okay.
Yeah, they're hourly employees. So what happens is when you add people and when you adjust the tip pool, then there's a voting process that the employees go through, and they get all of that.
But if one declines and says that they don't want to do it, then you can't do it, correct?
Yeah, you have to go. You have to follow all the rules with.
Yeah.
So the other thing we looked at, and this data is just fresh today, we looked at wage rates and how much they've changed last year. Instawork, we started collecting data on compensation. It's optional, so businesses don't have to give it to us. But we've been collecting it for about the past year, and in particular the last 4 or 5 months, we've been collecting it more aggressively. Obviously, the minimum wage in certain cities went up in July, and so this data is likely to change over the next few months. But notice in South Bay, which one of the hardest places to hire, despite wages going up almost 15%, it still remains a very difficult place to hire. But this is within a year what we're seeing in terms of wage movements, only for hourly positions. I think for salary positions, the average was about 3%. For hourly, the average was about 9%. And we have this data cut a bunch of different ways, but I thought that would be useful to sort of share. And then we did one other cut, which was looking at line cooks. And we looked at the jobs on Instawork over several months and what are line cooks making. What I thought was interesting here is, we've always known location really matters. And when you look at the addresses of the line cooks on Instawork and where they live, other than San Francisco, they're basically East Bay or San Jose. Those are the sort of the 2 big clusters. East Bay along the BART line, you'll find a lot of the back of the house staff, and then San Jose as another big concentration. And so, one of the things that we found in the data, which was pretty clear, is having a restaurant where there's a lot of labor is much easier, right? To pay less. And in fact, if you break down San Francisco and you look at restaurants in the Mission versus restaurants in the Marina, you'll find a similar gap. And it's really unfortunate, obviously, because many of you have had restaurants for decades and you don't have the ability to change locations, but certainly restaurants that are in a more favorable location are able to generate a lot more interest and a lot more hires from businesses, from applicants, purely just based on being in an area that's convenient based on all the other factors we talked about earlier. People working multiple jobs, relying on public transportation, counting every dollar and minute that it takes for them to get to work.
Just a quick question, do you have any idea, like in that example, what that gap is between the mission and the marina?
No, we haven't. I just included a slide on it, but we can look it up and we can send that out in email. So I'll pause here for a second and give Julie and Obi a chance to react. I think both of them have properties that are actually across multiple parts of the Bay Area. Julie, I think, has properties everywhere, and Obi has them in the North Bay and South Bay. And maybe you can reflect on what are you guys seeing in terms of the challenges and differences between properties in different locations.
Well, I know for us, it's a lot more difficult to staff in the South Bay than it is in San Francisco. That's not to say both locations aren't difficult, but we tend to try to, between our different locations, we try to keep the pay consistent. So for example, San Francisco, our back of the house, the mean is a little bit higher, but we try to make that consistent with our South Bay locations. From a standpoint of, we also have some of our employees, for example, we have employees that work in the back of the house in the South Bay, and sometimes they'll come up and work the San Francisco locations. And it helps us keep a little bit more consistency if we have our employees crossing over and they're making different rates doing the same job, it poses a problem for us.
What to say about this? I think that the reality is that what we're seeing is we're just seeing movement. We're seeing movement fairly rapidly. If you look at that 15% or whatever it was, close to 15%, I'll just round up, in the hourly compensation year over year. So you're seeing, not only we've got minimum wage jumping $1.50 cents. That's happening on that side. You also have that it just instantly translates to if you're a line cook and you were making 16 or 17 or whatever the median is in your market, and now the minimum wage employees in the restaurant just got a $1.50 raise. Instantly in your mind, you're saying, "Oh, I get a raise also," and we're getting approached with that question all the time. And I think that one of the things that we're really trying to implement is what we're calling stay interviews, and where we're really trying to talk to our employees much more regularly about how they're doing, where they're at, where they think they're at, where they think they're at from a compensation standpoint, and having that dialogue with them. So, because what we found is that they absolutely are going down the street for 50 cents, right? There's not even a question in their mind if they get a job offer down the street for 50 cents, 75 cents, or $1, and it's a very similar scheduling opportunity and hours, based, and they feel like it's going to be a great opportunity for them to work the same amount of hours but make that extra $1, that extra 50 cents, they're going to go. And if we can engage them in that conversation and know that we care and that we're thinking about it and we want to have that dialogue, and then maybe they're going to give us the opportunity before just saying, today's my last shift and you'll see me across the street at Sino and I'm doing that for 25 cents. And you're like, wow, I really wish I could have that opportunity to have that conversation. So I think that we need to do things like that to figure out how to open up the conversation and find out how to fend off that move for 50 cents.
Is wage parity pretty important for you guys across locations?
We've got Menlo Park, and then we've got Santana Row, and then we've got Larkspur. So, there's a fairly widespread and pretty different markets, and we definitely treat, the Santana Row property the same, the Menlo property is the same, the Larkspur the same, but we're not cross-company.
Well, one of the things that helps us a lot as well, so for example, when we're looking at our South Bay locations, pay is one of the things that's the most important, and one of the issues that we find in our exit interviews. It's the most common reason why they're leaving. And for our San Francisco locations, a lot of the time it is schedule. So, really keeping in contact, like you were saying, with your employees and finding out what their needs are, and understanding that most of our employees, if not all of them, really have at least another job. Really maintaining those consistent schedules and making sure that we're adhering to them as much as possible. And when we can't adhere to those schedules, letting them know, hey, look, can you work this shift, and making them a part of that decision rather than just throwing them on the schedule, helps us to keep our employees. So for us, you know, between the different locations, we have very, very different reasons that people stay and people go.
And, you know, I think that there are some other ideas in the world to figure out how to get people to stay. And, you know, one of the things that, you know, we have anniversary rewards. So, you know, if you are with us for a year, you get a certain amount of money, and if you're with us for 2, you get more. And people, we hear from people that they like that and they'll stay. Sometimes they'll just stay to their anniversary and then they'll leave. But, you know, I think that, you know, that's a year-long commitment rather than a few month commitment. We're seeing, you know, as we see 100% turnover in a 1-year time, incentivizing people to stay for a year is a lot better than 2 months.
Is that a incentive, like a one-time bonus, or next year, like an increase in their hourly?
One-time bonus, yeah, and it goes up obviously with the years, you know, so we've got some tenure employees getting a big check on an annual basis. It's great to see, and, you know, they're very happy with it, and it's definitely, you know, we talk to them as an incentive to stay for the 11th year, for the, you know.
What do you base that bonus on?
I mean, just strictly on how, you know, how long you've been there, you know,
So
and then.
X amount of dollars, you just, for each year, you already
Yeah.
have it set.
Yep, you know, yeah.
Can we ask what that is?
It starts small in a few $100 range and builds, you know, to thousands of dollars.
Just want to get an idea, thank you.
Yeah, so it's a good segue into where we can hopefully spend more time on what are we seeing that has worked. And I'll share some things that we've seen, and I think Julie and Obi have some ideas, and hopefully a lot of you. You know, one of the first things that we've seen work really well, and it's sort of a broad theme called Be Creative, mainly because it's the best title I can think of, being jet lagged from a flight from Italy, you know, last night. But you know, a lot of restaurants have done a great job of going after non-traditional sources of labor, and I think a lot of these have been well documented. So Cala, you know, looks primarily for, you know, felons, former felons. Mazzeria, over the Mission, exclusively hires individuals who are deaf. And if they don't have hospitality experience, they put a particular emphasis on training, right? So maybe they'll even spend 60, 90 days training someone with the hope that that person will stick around long enough where that investment is worthwhile. And because the person's from a non-traditional labor pool, they're not going to go down the street for 50 cents more. They're going to appreciate the training. They're going to stick around. One thing that's been really interesting to us at Instawork has been how to take advantage of foot traffic, despite this being the Bay Area, you know, the tech community, the tech capital. Word of mouth is still one of the top 2 ways businesses hire staff, and specifically, you know, foot traffic. One of the things that we've been testing, we have about 250 restaurants doing this right now, is we give you a phone number and you pick a short code, and people can text that code to a number. It's really low friction. It works for front of the house or back of the house. It's completely free, so if anybody here wants to do it, just come see some of Instawork. But one of the challenges we found today with foot traffic is if the manager's not around or if the chef's busy, that candidate may get lost, or their name and phone number is put on a piece of paper. And if you're able to convert that person, great, right? It's great because they have high intent, but it sort of gets lost. And I think whether you use Instawork or not, like every restaurant here should probably make sure you have your front of the house staff, or so whoever's at the door, right, is trained to convert, right, this funnel. You don't have to pay anything for it, and it's really easy. So we're trying to figure out ways to make that easier. I think a lot of the restaurants that have had success in hiring in this difficult environment have figured out how to, you know, they always have someone up at the front. They've trained their janitors in off hours to be ready to take someone's number down on their cell phone and forward it to a WhatsApp group. You know, I've heard some pretty crazy things, and so that's one of the things that I would suggest to everyone. There are 2 other sort of interesting things that we've sort of seen in the theme of being creative. So cross-training is something that's come up. I was talking to Julie and Obi about it earlier. So 1300 on Fillmore, for example, they got rid of runners and busters and they just created one category. We've been restaurants where servers and bartenders are cross-trained. The nice thing with cross-training is that it gives you tremendous leverage, right? So if you lose someone in one position, you can pull somebody from another position and it's obvious, but you'd be surprised when I talk to restaurant owners how few actually do it. It's not optimal, but it's a great way to provide maybe career growth, teach someone new skills, and give you more leverage across larger sort of workforce pool. And I think that's something that these guys can talk about as well. The last thing we've been seeing is a lot more flexibility, from restaurants. And I know this is probably one of the most difficult things, particularly if you're a chef, but being more lenient on the hours. I told you about the 2.3 number, line cooks working over 2 jobs. If you restrict yourself to very fixed hours, if you need your PM line cooks to come in at noon or 11:30 to begin work, there's absolutely no way they're going to be able to work an AM job. And unless you're paying them like really, really well, or you're like next door to where they live, that person's not going to be in your funnel. Like they're not going to be part of your eligible pool. Giving them flexibility when they come in is going to create pain in other parts of your business for sure. But suddenly now you have 1.5 times or 2 times the labor pool available to you that you didn't have before. And I've had over the 2 years, I've learned so much from the restaurants at Instawork, and I've gotten into countless arguments. I think some folks are able to make it work. Some folks are just sticklers, and they have a particular way that the staff needs to be in working together. I've also heard a couple examples of restaurants working together. So, for example, in the marina, a restaurant that needs PM staff because they're dinner only, working with a bakery down the street that only needs people in the morning. And literally, I think there's like 3 or 4 people who, when they're done at the bakery, they take off their aprons, they walk down the street, and they get ready for their PM shift. One of the things on Instawork now that we do is we specify mandatory shifts for job posts to help applicants kind of do this themselves. But we found restaurants sort of building these organic communities on their own because it's very, very, a prep cook or a baker in the morning loves nothing more than is able to go walk 2 steps to another restaurant and saves them a ton of time on commuting, and it suddenly makes, a marina, if you're in the Mission, you have to go to the marina in the morning, sticking around for your second job is far more palatable if you can make this arrangement work. And these are all real examples that we heard about and our team has heard about that I wanted to share. The second, here, let me just go back really quick. Do you guys have any feedback or comments?
One of the things that we talk about at DOSA is thinking about different ways that we can make our employees feel like DOSA is their first job. So if they're going to have multiple jobs, at least 2 jobs, we need to figure out ways where DOSA is their first job and the other jobs are their secondary job. And schedule flexibility is really the #1 way that we can do that. And there's obviously other ways to get into that right now with talking about this, but schedule flexibility is one of the most important ways to do that.
I thought it was very funny. So in Menlo, both restaurants on their own, because I definitely never would have approved this, but they put like on their windows in big colorful chalk, like hiring, and they listed out the positions that they were hiring. And I tried to just remain calm when I saw it. And then and then I went to him. I said, it's working. Like, let's find out at least before I lose my mind if this is working. And one restaurant was like, oh my God, like I can't believe it. We've gotten so many people walking in, and we hired this one, and this one's in the pipeline. I was like, wow, really? That's incredible. And the other one was like, no, not working at all. They're 3 blocks away from each other. I mean, I don't know. But putting a sign in the window apparently can work, is the moral of that story. I'm not sure if Samir's, little tiny sign is going to do it, but maybe.
It'll make you feel a little better. It looks better than chalk.
I don't know. They have really pretty handwriting. Say like that, but.
Yeah. By the way, just
those are actually 10 by 10 feet.
Well, we have a couple versions. We're testing out cards that staff can hand out. So the main thing here is the phone number and the short code. You can use it on Instagram or Facebook, and we can create as many as you want for free. It's pretty easy. The idea is just to figure out a simple, easy way that doesn't involve downloading an app or like registering for your driver's license to get people in the queue, right? Just get someone's name and number, and then at least give that to the business to see if we can get them to convert later on. So, you can do it as a sign on the window, you can do it as cards that your staff hands out, and we're still sort of experimenting with the best approach, and if people here have ideas on things that have worked, it's probably worth sharing.
Another great way to use the text code is employer referrals. So employer referrals over the last 20 years I've seen work really well. Not only in terms of bringing people in, but also for retention. Employees will tend to refer other employees that they want to work with and that they think will be great employees. If you have an employee retention program that is based on timelines, so for example, or an employee referral program, so for example, if you have something that says, okay, after the employee's been here 90 days, then you'll get X amount of dollars, and if you've referred 5 people, you get a bonus plus the X amount of dollars for each person. Things like that work really well, but also this text can fold nicely into that.
Yeah, we have some folks here from our engineering and product team, and we've thought really hard about how to sort of make referrals more effective. It seems half the restaurants I talk to have some kind of referral program, but it always feels like one of those things where chef, 10 minutes before dinner service starts, ask the cooks, hey, anybody know anyone? And everyone's like, yeah, and then nothing happens, right? Because people go to dinner service, they forget about it. And, but it's clear there's something there. One of the reasons Instawork has moved to being more mobile versus just a website is we know that if you look at if you took all your line cooks and locked them in a room and said, I want 10 names from each of you, and you went through their phone books, you would find those 10 people, they're there. And there's a good chance, based on the turnover data, that one of them is looking for a job at that moment. And it's how do you tap into that? You have to, and you have to reinforce it, and it's got to be everyone's #1 priority. So we're trying to figure out a way, and we're going to launch this, I think, in 2 weeks. We're going to actually pay people $100 if they can refer a friend that gets hired on Instawork. Right? Because just like everyone here, we also spend money in marketing, and we try and find ways to get more people using Instawork. But Julie's right. There's something to referrals, but it's got to be top of mind. It can't just be you get $50 in 6 months if your friend's still here, and you say it once and then don't. You have to reinforce it over and over. But we think it's pretty promising too.
Actually, just another quick note on that. I worked for a company once who, when you referred someone, you got your referral bonus. And if that person got promoted and you were still there, you got another bonus. So as your people that you referred moved up within the company, you got additional bonuses based on their success, which was really, really cool, very popular.
I don't think we've done this, but #1, was that lock the line cooks in a room on the creative slide? Or did I?
No,
Okay.
that was a special reserved just for
All right, I'm definitely pocketing that one. I don't think we've actually successfully did this, but I thought bringing cash to line up, when that referral happened and you got the referral bonus, don't put it in the check, just bring in the cash, bring it line up, do it in public, thank you so much, and here, we would actually do this, we actually give you money if you have your friends work for us. But I don't think we actually succeeded in doing that, but I think it's a good idea. If anybody wants to adapt it, let me know how it works.
I actually have a question about the cross-training aspect and just anybody, if either of you in the business have had any experience with that, because we've done that as a small business. We've realized it's become imperative. So we've done that. We've eliminated the multiple positions. We have single positions now. But one of the things we've noticed is between front of house and or bar that I'll get, that's not my job, or I don't want to do it. There's a perceived elevated perception for them in terms of position. And I'm just wondering if you have that, if you've worked with that at all, and any kind of advice you would provide for that.
We were actually talking a little bit about that earlier, but definitely we see, we see the same thing when we cross-train. our employees, we don't have, we don't cross-train and then have, one position, but we'll cross-train, bussers and runners and servers and bartenders and things like that. And we definitely have that problem where, particularly if an employee is cross-trained between two different positions, where one position is a higher tip position or something like that. I think the key for us and what we've learned is really approach that cross-training with complete transparency when you're talking to the employees, and let them know that, here's what's happening. This is still your main primary position. We'll, cross-train you. You'll do these other jobs. Another key element to that is, for example, if you're cross-training a hostess to be a server or a busser to be a server, one of the things you shouldn't be doing is then hiring a server. So, for example, if you've got a busser that's been trained for the last 6 months, cross-trained to a server, one of the worst things that, and we used to do it, but one of the worst things that you can do is then hire a server off the street and give them that role. So you really want to make sure that when you're cross-training employees, they can see through other employees being cross-trained the benefit of that training and the mobility for them upwards and into the position that they have as a perceived higher position. Does that make sense?
Yeah, some of it is that some of our employees have become like the bar back, but then they don't want to do the floor shift anymore because they perceive it as a lower position.
Right. So really it's just a matter, I think the really good practice there is sitting down and having a conversation with them that, okay, when a full-time bar back position comes open, if you've successfully and positively done both roles, you'll be considered for it. But if we've got this constant, if we're developing an issue based on us giving you this opportunity, then, we're going to have to think about that. We need just kind of really have those kinds of conversations and make sure that they understand the benefit of the positivity in both roles, and they're kind of all hands in whenever they're doing whatever they're doing for the restaurant is going to benefit them. If they see it not happening, you're going to always have that problem. But if they can see the rewards from the cross-training and doing the different positions, usually it ends up with a positive outcome.
The only thing I'd add, and then just figuring out how to make sure that that teamwork environment still exists. It's like, that's not the deal. It's just not the deal. Like, yeah, you've gotten this opportunity, you've moved in, but we are a team. And that's how we function across all levels. And, what do you need me to do? I'm happy to jump in there and do it with you also. But when, it's just not okay. Like, you've been given this great opportunity and we're still a team and you know how to do that job, so please help us out. And if you're not willing to do that, then why are you in this higher position? It doesn't make any sense. If it is a higher position like you're telling me it is. So.
Yeah, I think anytime in this business someone utters the words, "It's not my job," that requires a sit-down conversation, you know what I mean? Because it's just not the reality of the world we live in. For any of us, from HR all the way, through each of the hourly positions,
Oh, I fix the toilet, honey, don't get me.
Exactly, right? That's why we do what we do.
Or I'm writing the paychecks, doing either or dishes.
The dishes,
The
yes.
dishes.
So the second theme is more related to how you market your openings, the job posts, whether it's on Instawork or any other service, how you think about selling the position that you're offering to the applicant community. In terms of content, the single biggest piece of advice I could offer everyone here, and I know it's hard, is list compensation in the ad. If it's a range, put a range in. If it's starting at or up to, put something in there. We ran the data today, actually. We looked at basically the hiring rate. So when businesses hire someone on Instawork, they can mark them as a hired, and we basically looked at when businesses put compensation in their ad, what was their hire rate? When businesses didn't put compensation, what was the hire rate? And there's a 50% difference. We also talked to a lot of applicants because there's a lot of no-shows, as everybody here knows. And we asked them, why didn't you go to the interview? You applied to a job, you seemed excited, and you didn't book an interview. And one of the top reasons that comes up over and over again is lack of data compensation. So I went to the place that told me they were going to give me paid time off, or I went to the place that offered free meals. So about 2 months ago, for those of you who use Instawork, you'll notice this, is we actually made the job post flow 3 times longer. And you can tell us if you offer benefits and paid time off. And all that stuff came directly from applicants because we basically said, look, what's the data that if you had it, you promised us that you will show up to interviews? Like if we got businesses to upload pictures and give you the name of the hiring manager, and we got your compensation, tips, if there's tips involved, would you be more likely to come and sort of the agreement, talking to a lot of them and doing a lot of deep user research was yes. And so we don't make it mandatory today, but we know that compensation data matters. We show it very prominently. This is our applicant app, it's a screenshot. We show compensation data. It's actually one of the first things we show. We show the distance from the use for the job from the user, and then part-time or full-time, because that was also important. We're going to help solve this for job posts on Instawork. Our app is bilingual, but we don't translate job posts. For any back of the house position, like it should be in Spanish. There should at least be a couple lines if you don't translate the full post. Again, I'd say 60-70% of our back of the house posts don't have any Spanish, and it's crazy in the Bay Area to think that you can hire an effective, run an effective back of the house process without any Spanish in your ad. Just out of respect, say habla español might be enough. Even if the position requires a certain level of English, that's okay. But letting people know that maybe it's a Spanish-friendly kitchen, we think makes a big difference. And we have a whole team at Instawork focused almost solely on back of the house positions, and they call applicants all day. And this is feedback that we consistently get from that community in terms of what they look for.
You haven't looked at if there is Spanish in there. Is there a higher hiring rate? You haven't looked at.
We have not. No, because the sample size is much smaller, and so we didn't want to be inclusive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we have any data on that, or do we have any anecdotal feedback?
We haven't intentionally, to be honest, but
Yeah.
we will.
And then shorter is better. I think one of the things that we noticed, we look at how long applicants spend in our app, how many minutes, and this is a new generation, this new generation of workers. There's a lot of things competing for their attention on the mobile phone or on the computer, and everyone in this room, I'm sure, wants someone responsible, hardworking, committed to excellence, all those things. I think the things that really matter are, I think there's the things that are certainly essential, like certain shifts that are required. We let businesses put that in now, structured information, but make the job post like long enough to cover what's really critical, and not make it like an essay. And I think people will skip through it. You may think that you're weeding out a lot of people, but we were finding more and more that people who write 5-6 paragraphs in the job description for a bar back. Like there's just no need, right? And you're tormenting yourself to write it that long, and all the applicants reading it. Instead, are there shifts that are required? How much are you going to pay? Are there a couple of cultural attributes that really matter? Is prior experience mandatory? We also let businesses now specify that. Is experience mandatory, recommended, how many years? And we take all that data and make it very clear. That helps with Spanish translation because eventually we want to be able to translate all of these job descriptions for the posts on Instawork. It's easier for us if it's structured. I used this example last time I spoke. Your job description should be short, but not this short. This was actually a real post on Instawork, and this business paid $100 to post their ad, and it's unfortunate because it's not a very appealing job post. I don't think they'd use this again. It's posting.
Is that job still open? Because I'm looking.
All the donuts you can eat.
Yeah, that's the benefit that you can actually check. I want to also highlight speed really quick. So this is one area where we have a ton of data. When I talk about what Instawork is doing and why it's special and why it's different than LinkedIn, speed is the one thing that everybody in this room knows that matters. Right? Google needs a lot of engineers to make the website better. They can go a day, they can go a couple of weeks, they can go a couple of months without those engineers. No one in this room can open tomorrow if you're down 3 people, right? You may not be able to open, you certainly won't be able to grow your business. Speed matters really quickly. And we actually measure every step of the recruiting funnel in like days, and we have objectives as a company to like make that shorter. So a couple things. I remember when the first restaurant that used Instawork was Range, which is now going through a rebranding, but in the mission. And Phil West at Range would do a phone screen, he'd have an interview, then he'd have a stage, and he'd have this like and if you're a line cook in the mission looking for a job, like you basically got like one shot to get that person in, discover if he or she is a good fit for you, and to sell them on your business and make it happen.
I'm texting Phil right now.
But Phil's, that was the first time we met Phil. And one of the big things that we did was we combined it right now, and he started doing his stages and interviews together. One of the things that Instawork did a couple months ago is and now about a third of the jobs on Instawork do this. It's called Instabook. Anybody that applies to the job can book an interview immediately. You don't have to log in and pick the people you want. So for like counter servers, dishwashers, for positions where experience doesn't matter as much, like you'll interview anyone who's willing to show up, it cuts a whole step out of the process. Like it shaves like a couple days off the process. Next thing, stay on top of hiring managers. I think half of the folks raised their hand saying that they're HR or operations professionals who don't actually do the day-to-day management. And I can't tell you how frustrating it is for our team when businesses spend hundreds of dollars on posting ads on Instawork and then like no one logs in, right? Or no one requests an interview. Candidates apply, they're ready to go, and like a week later, a chef logs in, tries to reach a couple prep cooks, and they hear crickets. Like they hear like nothing. This is, recruiting is 100% job of the HR team if your organization has one. It's 100% the job of your GMs, floor managers, sous chefs and chefs. And I know that probably don't disagree with this, but we see the data. Like we see how often people log in. We see how long it takes for businesses to respond, and it sucks because we know a lot of money is spent on Instawork and a variety of other services, and we want to make sure that the matches are happening at the highest possible rate. The last thing in terms of speed that I'll point out is in your workflows when you're trying to reach candidates, particularly for back of the house, text and call. Don't do email. And in about a week, Instawork's going to be launching messaging, where businesses can just message candidates, kind of like Facebook, and applicants will get pinged on their mobile phone and push notifications. Texting is far more effective. We still hear from time to time, maybe for GM roles and for very senior roles, email makes sense. But if you're trying to run a recruiting process really, really quickly, texting is the way to go. And every 10th person will get annoyed you're texting them, but that's probably not the person you want. And we did an audit of all the ways that Instawork reaches applicants. Email, text messages, and push notifications. We found that like 60% of our notifications were email and very few texts. And this quarter, one of our big goals is to flip it. Like we should be texting people nonstop when they're requesting interviews, when they need to book an interview, all these things. And we need to get better at this as well, but that's one of the big realizations that we've learned looking at the data. Texting converts much better.
So you think people respond to, they're responding to text, like, coming from somebody that they may not know?
Yeah, I can jump in on that. Personal experience. I was getting frustrated. This was in San Francisco. That it was cook based, right? Because the chefs were responsible for doing the hiring, and I was working with Instaworks, and then I had Samir as a great partner, so he'd feed me all the information that I could possibly want. And he's like, I don't know why. You've got all these resumes. Like, what's the problem? And I'd be the chefs would be like, what's the problem? You got all these resumes. Like, I don't know. They won't get back to me. And then so then I was like, I just started going in. I started texting myself, and I'm like, that's strange. John Smith didn't get back to you because he texted me. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, he'll be here too. And walk in at 2, and the chef will be like, how'd you do that? I'd be like, I texted him. Or I picked up the phone and called him. What did you do? He's like, you emailed him? I'm like, really? Or phone call too. And then I actually got fairly engaged for a little bit of time just to prove a point. And amazing response to text. Amazing response. And for me, like, I'll never pick up your phone call. Yeah. And,
I did have to say that because I never listen to my voicemail, and I got really frustrated because our managers
Yeah, that did cause a little bit of a problem. Yeah. Some really interesting late night texts, like wrong number. Kind of was entertaining also. So.
Yeah, one of the ways, and you know, I mean, if you have a tech team, you know, it's probably not hard to do yourself, but we're gonna, we'll basically allow people to text, right, basically using our app, for the main reason that you don't have to give out your number. You can just sort of use the Instawork number, kind of like with Uber and Lyft, how they mask, you know, both sides' numbers, and I think that'll make the process, you know, a lot easier. And also, it has a second benefit. I was telling Julie, where the chat history gets stored. And so if people don't show up and they change the time, which happens a lot, people get marked as a no-show on Instawork. They write in saying, "Oh, you know, I told Julie that I was going to be 2 hours late," and you know, so there's a history. It's more secure, and it prevents the late night, you know,
Entertainment.
right.
And I think texting through, you know, like Instawork is a good solution for if you're coming from an HR perspective, where I'm constantly trying to get managers to not over text, because some of the things that happen via text is not good. And you know, some of the conversations that happen, and so there's this fine line between what can we text and what can't we text. And so having it, you know, go through Instawork is kind of in that safety net of, okay, this makes sense for both parties. And it's, you know, like you said, it's got that history there. You can see all the text that went through, and I think it just feels better on both ends, rather than having your personal number out there. And
Cool. So happy to take questions or feedback if there's something here that people have tried that have worked, you can share it with the rest of the community.
I got a question. So in terms of the scheduling, you know, you have your employers that are putting in the required shifts that they need. Is there ever going to be a component for the applicants where they give you their availabilities, and so you're able to match qualified applicants with what you actually need and save yourself a little bit of time within that process, sorting through the talking?
Yeah, you know, it's funny. Scheduling has been one of those things where, like, our team always debates it, because part of me wonders, like, is it just something to like push until the interview, like let both sides sort of figure it out, and if we try to be super structured and like try to like match, you know, are we, you know, like, are we setting ourselves up for failure because so much of it is just like agreed upon in the interview. We started with the businesses. I think the plan is to allow applicants to also give us their availability, but because it's changing all the time, like, you know, is it going to be up to date? And then if it's not accurate and businesses see the applicant has the wrong availability, will they, will they sort of, skip over them? You know, our thought was that businesses have a much better sense of like what's critical and mandatory. So in fact, on Instawork, when you put in the shifts, you only put in the ones that are mandatory, right? So like, if you need someone for weekend brunch, like you put Saturday and Sunday in, and so anyone reading that job knows they've got to at least be available for those 2 days, but everything else is sort of up for grabs and can be discussed. It felt more practical to do that at the business level, right? These businesses sort of know when they absolutely need people, but I think at some point we'll also have applicants, particularly for more short-term gigs, like, hey, I need someone like on Fridays, or I need an extra pair of hands last minute, being able to search through our applicant pool to find those people who have availability at those times is something we'll do. I don't think we'll get to it in the near term, but it's something on the roadmap for a little bit later.
Just touching on the amount that you said per employee that it costs to turnover, you said, you know, somewhere in the range of 3,000. What are you basing those numbers on?
You know, the hiring and training process is the majority of it, and then the cost of terminating, you know, all of that, all of the pieces that go into it. So the time and energy of the process of termination, the process of payroll, the process of the posting, the hiring, the getting people in, the process of, okay, now you've got people interviewing, you know, what's the cost of that interviewing? So yeah, I mean, and all of those are real costs, right? To going and hiring. It's not just that single person and the cost of that, but you know, if you're training somebody for 2 weeks, depending on the position, I mean, that math is real easy at 40 hours, 80 hours, times 15, right? I mean, that adds up pretty quickly just on its own. do you got? What do you got, sorry?
So, we do a referral bonus at my job, and what would you say would be a fair price for a referral bonus to give to your staff? $50, $100, $200.
For an hourly referral, referring another hourly employee? I mean, I gotta say, I think it's whatever works, right? I mean, that's the reality of it. I mean, for me, it's, you know, I would be willing to pay hundreds of dollars for a great referral that lasts for a year. I think that, you know, a base of 100 is a minimum for sure, and, you know, I do think that it could go up from there depending on the business and the level and so on and so forth. I mean, you know, this is what I would say. I mean, I think we're all like, okay, we can't really talk about this much longer, at least that's how I'm feeling, or live this problem much longer. You know, the reality for me is that this is a huge problem. And imagine that's why you all came here today. You know, we are so challenged to get qualified candidates, to have them show up for an interview. I mean, that is actually, I think, a huge pinch point we haven't even really talked about. I guess the texting was a little bit, you know, but to actually get them through the door and then to get them through the hiring process. And, you know, I think that, you know, it's been a great partnership for us with Instawork. We've definitely gotten a lot more candidates, and that's a good start. But, you know, depending on where you are in that chain, if you're not involved on a daily basis, you got to get involved. You got to be like, all right, what is going on? What kind of applicants are we getting, and why aren't we converting them? And you need to be hands-on on that until you've figured it out. And then if you are hands-on, kudos to you. And the reality is that you got to work just super, super hard to engage these people and figure out how to get them to come through the door. And, you know, this is, you know, we've been mainly talking about hourly employees. I mean, you know, I've got executive level and people no showing for their interviews. Right? And mind-boggling, right? Like, are you kidding me? Like, how can this be happening? And it's happening, right? So, and if that's the behavior at that level, certainly the learned behavior at an hourly position is, oh, I see it happen all the time. Odie was here and he was supposed to interview Jeff and then he showed up. Like, the next time I go to an interview, maybe I don't need to, right? So it's learned behavior. So, you know, really need to find out new ways. And, you know, I don't know, other than being very, very engaged in the process and really trying to have those real one-on-one personal conversations, whoever is doing that for you, you know, and making sure that that follow-through is there. That's a big part of what we need to do these days. And then, you know, having a card that you can hand out and just, hey, text this number. And, you know, we're looking at other applications too where we can just make it really a seamless, easy process to get in touch with us and get into our company.
So, and I want to answer your question a little more directly. It's against our self-interest because, you know, great word of mouth hires means you don't have to use our service, but I would be as generous as possible, like hundreds of dollars. Because you're going to spend that much on sites, you're going to spend that much on training, and what better way to keep your existing employees feel invested in the success of your business than bringing on people, right, and making them feel like part of it. And so, like, to me, if it's contingent on hiring someone that sticks around for even a month, like, if you can get that person, like, you should be willing to spend, you know, given how much people are spending on other services and your time that goes into sitting around for no-shows, like, all that stuff is worth, you know, hundreds of dollars, probably, you know, $500 to $1,000, I think.
Yeah, and sorry, go ahead.
Another way to do it, if budget or cost is an issue, a great way to structure these referral bonuses is maybe $100 after they've been there 3 months, and then if you want to add in another couple $100 and, you know, $500 if somebody stays a year. I mean, if somebody has stayed a year and they're a referral, that's obviously well worth an extra kick down of about $500 or something like that. But, you know, that way, you know, you're not just throwing money away, but there's a real value to it.
And it's a double incentive because it now gets the employee to stick around a little longer too. Maybe they both quit after a year.
Yeah, they'll refer the cream of the crop of their text group, right?
As far as opportunity to see individuals that have either just logged on and posted their resume, their information on Instawork, or actually applied for jobs, what do you want to see on there? Like, we struggle with applicant flow. Like, everything that you said is fantastic, and we probably do 5 times more than everything that you said financially, but we just can't get applicant flow at all because of where we're located. So how can we go through Instawork and find individuals who are either A, looking, or we are currently employed, not to anybody in this room, but job something? Like, do you have anything currently, or are you adding anything, or we can just find this applicant pool to?
What business are you with?
Do it?
Well, I'm sorry, what business are you with?
We're the White Caps restaurant, but we're the Demo Tree Hilton in Brisbane, but we're the only restaurant really in Brisbane. And we also have food right hotel.
Yeah, one of the things, you know, and it's always great, and I think afterwards you guys can come find me or someone on the team, we'd love to get feedback on how to make the service better. So we have like 100,000 restaurant professionals on Instawork, and the current model of the way the site works is you post a job, people apply, like any job site. We show you some users that you can message on your own to invite them to apply. But we have all these users who, you know, maybe forgot about Instawork, or they're out of town, or they're not active. And one of the ideas on our mobile app was, do we just sort of give you access, right, and let you search and chat with candidates. And we do this sort of on a weekly basis. We send out profiles, so it's something we've thought about. We haven't quite figured out the product that the folks in this room would want. But we have those users, and we have users who created their first Instawork profile 2 years ago, or 2 years ago, coming back to the site now. And so if you wanted to search for show me line cooks who've been active in the last month or the last 2 weeks, we're still looking in, you know, Brisbane, right? We probably have a list of people, and it sucks that you don't get access to that. So you have to figure out the right way to do that. But it's something we think that we have thought about a lot.
Or you just post that you're lazy bear, and you know, so kind of see what kind of flow that does for you. Just a thought.
Question for you. So for a multi-unit level, so I have from Santa Rosa to Cupertino to the East Bay. I have to log into each individual one. Is there a multi-unit kind of role that we could put in place and look at?
Yeah, that's something. It's something we're thinking about. I think everyone who has multiple locations does things a little bit differently. Some have one hiring manager across multiple locations. Some have different management team. But just come grab me afterwards, and maybe we can talk more.
What I did with that is created one for each location, and then I created one specifically for multi-location. So if I'm hiring somebody that I want to go across all locations, or you know, have the option to do that, then I use that actual posting module, if that helps.
Yeah, I'm trying to solve the issue of, like he said earlier, Larry, it's, hey, who's active, who's not, I'm trying to remember who has what login and stuff like that. It's always been tough for me to keep up with all of it.
Yeah, just come grab me. Cool. Chat.
I was, by the way, thank you guys. I think this information is super helpful and useful. Two things. The analytics that you shared today, I think, are pertinent to what we do. How open are you at sharing these analytics with us in the future? And then second, what other feedback? Because I love that you guys are customer service focused for the applicants, and just by saying like, hey, we need the job postings translated in Spanish, or hey, scheduling is one of the most important issues when trying to get people attracted to these positions. What other things do you hear that would make us better employers?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I think a lot of the things that we hear, going back to why are people leaving jobs, it's other than compensation, it's really there's not much the business can do, right?
Yeah.
You can't physically change your location overnight.
Mm-hmm.
It goes back to scheduling and sort of compensation. I think the two of you probably have more ideas than the folks in this room on ways to retain great talent. It's no different for Instawork or Google or a restaurant, right? People want to feel like they're aligned with the mission and the culture, and there's opportunities to grow and pick up skills. Our vision as a company is we're trying to create economic opportunity in local communities for both sides, for businesses and professionals. And so one of the things that we've thought about is, if I'm a Latino line cook in the mission and I want to be a sous chef or a kitchen manager, what are the skills I need? I need to, have better English. I might need to learn Excel. And could Instawork potentially offer ways, working with restaurants or on our own, to let people sort of upgrade and level up and get better jobs. So that's sort of one thing we've thought about. We've thought about incentive programs on our own, like, hey, you get hired, get a job through Instawork, and if you stick around for 6 months or a year, we'll give you $500, right? And what better way for word of mouth to spread around Instawork than to be the place where people go and get paid for getting a job and sticking around? Mm-hmm. And we thought that would be great because it encourages people to also stay in one place. But yeah, I mean, other than the stuff that I think Obi and Julie talked about, I don't know if there's much else we hear.
I mean, I do think that us, responding quickly,
Yeah.
that wasn't clear enough.
No, totally.
It sits on there for a day.
Yeah.
Somebody else has gotten to it before.
Yeah, one thing that came up, when we were starting with Phil over at Range and no shows, like big issue, right? I think product designers, agent and employers, you wake us up in the middle of the night and we're just thinking about no shows and how to lower that number. One of the things that we've been hearing a lot from applicants the last year is bad behavior on the business part. So hiring manager requests, Julie will go in and request interviews with some candidates. She might send an email or text to the chef or the floor manager, and that person doesn't show up, right? Or they're running late and they don't care to send an email or a text. I think every day we probably get at least one or two texts or emails from users who spent $15 on BART, in public transportation to get to an interview, and like no one's there, and then we try to scramble in. Look, certainly I think no-shows on the applicant side happen a lot more on the business side, but it hurts everyone's credibility, and I think it's like a cyclical, right? Applicants no-show, it seems like they don't care, the businesses. And so I think going back to better coordination, right? Even if you're the owner of a restaurant, making sure your GMs and your, whether if you use Instawork, we've got a whole team that'll support you as much as you want. If you have problems with the service, if you don't use Instawork, just making sure that everyone is aligned. We are running a process to go hire someone. Everyone's got to be available, show up to interviews, get back to candidates. One of the things that we don't do today is get back to candidates to our system. We expect businesses to do it. We might make it easier for businesses to politely decline a candidate. Candidates, one of the things that we also hear from them very often is they never hear back.
Yeah.
So, and that creates bad behavior on their end because they're like, well, if I'm not going to hear back, then I'm not going to take this process seriously. Even if it's like a gentle, hey, your application was viewed. Letting them know what's going on. There's more that we can do there as a company, so we're going to do more of that.
Awesome.
One of the things I'm pretty passionate about, which probably Samir and maybe a couple more members of the Instawork team have heard me talk about, lament about, is transparency in the process. We've, throughout my career, I've seen a big difference in retention when you're transparent and honest in the interview process. We had trouble hiring. We'll always have trouble hiring in our, South Bay Cupertino location, but the manager down there was constantly, I have people show up, they're all excited, they leave the interview, and they never call me back, they never return my calls. And so I reached out to a couple of candidates and talked to them, and I talked to the hiring manager. One of the things that was happening a lot with her was, we're posting for a cashier position, and part of that role, you also have to, maybe make a dosa sometimes, and you have to do the dishes in the station throughout your shift. And so people are coming in and they're like, wait a minute, I gotta do dishes? You know what I mean? I gotta make dosas, I'm not interested in this. And so, changing up either the posting or the interview process and being really transparent about what the job is when people come in, even if it's, you post a basic short post, but then in the phone screening, you're telling them, okay, this is what the job looks like. And the same can be said for if your company is going through a culture change, or if, you say to an applicant, all right, well, you're gonna work a lot of hours, you know what I mean? Your shifts will be, if there's not flexibility in scheduling your shifts, then let them know that. If there is flexibility, just be completely transparent with the process, because kind of shoving things under the rug and getting them in the door it ain't the way to go.
We do massages at our restaurant, and I've been thinking about playing around with the idea of making them longer or just something about them. I'm wondering how you guys do yours and how long they are. And most of that.
All positions?
I guess front of house.
Ours vary depending on the position, whether it's bartender or manager, back of the house. So it really just depends on the person's schedule and the position. And also it depends on what's going on in the interview process. So for example, if you're interviewing somebody and you really want to weed out, you know, soft skills or personality or things like that, or you want to weed out how they kind of react to the stress in the restaurant or the pressure, then you want to make sure and give them a longer shift. If you're just trying to, you know, determine, you know, how they kind of see the knowledge that they seem to have or whatever, it can be a little bit of a shorter shift. So it really just depends on the position for us.
Yeah, similar, big variety, you know, nothing under 2, and then can go much longer. And then depending on position and depending on, you know, it's a flexible thing, it's not a.
We usually leave anywhere between around 4. But if it's wondering after that point, do we need to be paying them? Like, for
I wouldn't do more than 4. I think 4 is probably, yeah, I wouldn't go much longer than 4.
It's a sensitive subject across the board in the HR world, so.
Are you, I'm sorry, we just couldn't hear the question.
Yeah.
Stages, how long to do stages, yeah.
Legally, it's 2 hours. Just
Yeah.
legally, you can do that.
Right,
but if-
yeah.
Right, but then
Yeah.
unpaid stuff is 2 hours.
Right, legally it's 2 hours. What happens in practice is often quite different than that. So, I mean, I definitely wouldn't go more than 4 because you can kind of get away with a little bit on the front end and the back end with, well, they showed up and they're not really starting their stage, you know, you gotta be careful about it.
paying for that, like a whole day or doing something like that because I'm wanting them to get either a good feel for our restaurant and a good feel for them. So I'm wondering if I'm just playing around with that, you know, shooting good for stages.
Yeah, I would say if you're gonna do more than 4, then you're just gonna have to do it paid.
Yeah.
Great, well, we'll be around for a little while still, so go find us. And really appreciate everyone coming out tonight, and thanks to Julie and Obi.